The morning they decided to take Yang Mei Mei into surgery began in a blur. I hadn't slept. My body felt weightless, as if I were floating outside myself, watching everything happen from somewhere far away. When the doctors entered the room, I felt the world tighten around me. One of them, a tall man with calm eyes, said her condition needed urgent intervention. They spoke about complications, internal bleeding, organs under pressure. Their voices felt muffled, swimming through waves of panic in my ears. I looked at her face, still soft and quiet on the pillow, and tried to memorize every part of it. The curve of her lips, the gentle slope of her nose, the way her eyelashes rested like delicate feathers. I thought of how many times that face had brightened rooms, how many times it had made people laugh. The thought of losing her felt like drowning in darkness. They began preparing her for transport. Machines were unplugged and replaced, tubes secured, sheets lifted. I couldn't look away. Even though her body was still, everything around her moved, rushed, trembled. It felt wrong, like the universe was panicking with me. When they started pushing her bed toward the hallway, I followed step by step, my hand gripping the rail. I whispered, "Mei Mei, I'm right here. I'm not going anywhere." The hallway felt endless, sterile, smelling of fear and bleach. My heart beat so loud that I could feel it in my throat. I knew they wouldn't let me inside the operating room, but I kept walking until I couldn't anymore. At the surgical doors, a nurse gently placed her hand on my arm. "We'll take care of her," she said. I nodded, but my legs froze. As they wheeled her away, the doors swung closed behind her, and something inside me broke with the sound. It was a quiet break, but devastating, like a string snapping deep in the chest. Suddenly the hallway felt cold. I leaned against the wall, trying to breathe. Every inhale felt sharp, every exhale too slow. A voice inside me whispered, "What if she doesn't come back?" I shoved that thought away immediately, but it kept returning like a cruel echo. I walked to the waiting area, though I don't remember moving. I sat down, but it felt impossible to stay still. My legs bounced uncontrollably, my fingers twisted together, my throat felt tight. People came and went, some glancing at me, others pretending not to notice. The world moved around me, but I was trapped in my own mind. Minutes stretched into hours. I tried to remember happy memories, but every time I did, a wave of sorrow crushed me, reminding me that those memories might never grow into more. I closed my eyes and imagined her voice, the way she'd call my name when she found something funny, how she'd whisper goodnight on the phone even when we were too tired to talk. My chest felt tight again. I couldn't stop thinking about our last real conversation. We were sitting in her living room after rehearsals. She leaned against me, telling me about a dream she had, a dream where we were walking through a field of flowers, just the two of us. It felt so peaceful, she said, like nothing could hurt us. I told her I wanted that dream to be real someday. She smiled and said, "Then we'll make it real." That promise haunted me now. A nurse came by and offered me water. I shook my head. My mouth was dry, but I couldn't drink. I felt like if I swallowed anything, I'd collapse. I stared at the surgical doors, willing them to open. I wanted someone to walk out and tell me everything was okay. I wanted to hear the words, "She's going to be fine." Instead, there was silence. Time became a blur. One moment I was sitting, the next I was pacing the room. My feet moved without thought, my heart pounding relentlessly. People around me whispered. Someone recognized me and approached, offering prayers. I nodded blankly, grateful but unable to respond. None of their words could fill the hollow space inside me. At some point, I found myself in front of a vending machine. I don't remember standing up. My reflection in the glass looked pale, exhausted, someone I barely recognized. My eyes were red, my hair messy, my lips trembling. I pressed my palm against the cold surface and whispered, "Please don't take her away from me." Hearing my own voice break made something inside me unravel. I stumbled back into the waiting area. The pressure in my chest grew until I couldn't breathe. I pressed my hand over my heart, trying to calm it, but the beating only grew faster, harder. My vision blurred. The room tilted. I heard someone shout my name, or maybe I imagined it. My knees buckled, and I fell to the cold floor. The last thing I remembered was darkness swallowing everything. When I opened my eyes, I was lying on another hospital bed. A nurse hovered over me, her face filled with concern. "You fainted," she said. I blinked, trying to understand. My body felt heavy, my limbs weak. Panic returned immediately. "Mei Mei," I whispered. "Where is she? What's happening?" The nurse placed a hand on my shoulder and told me the surgery was still ongoing. "You need to rest," she said softly. "You won't be able to help her if you collapse again." I turned my face away, tears slipping silently down my cheeks. I didn't care about myself. My heart was still in that operating room with her. I forced myself to sit up, ignoring the dizziness. The nurse tried to stop me, but I shook my head. I dragged myself back to the waiting area, each step painful and slow. The surgical doors remained closed. I sank into the chair again, breathing hard, clenching my hands into fists. I prayed, something I hadn't done in years. I asked every star, every god, every force in the universe to protect her. I told them I didn't care what happened to me, as long as she lived. I remembered the time she twisted her ankle during a dance rehearsal. She tried to keep going, smiling through the pain, until I forced her to sit and rest. She laughed and said, "You worry too much." I joked, "Someone has to." Now I'd give anything to hear her tease me again, to see her eyes glow with that stubborn spark. Hours passed. I couldn't tell if it was day or night anymore. I only knew that every second felt like a needle pushing deeper inside my heart. Then, finally, the doors opened. A doctor walked out. I stood instantly, my legs barely holding me. He approached slowly, his expression serious but not dark. "The surgery was successful," he said. "She is stable for now." For now. Those words were both relief and torment. I felt my breath catch, a sob escaping my lips. My knees nearly gave out again, but I steadied myself. The doctor continued, explaining that she was still weak, still in critical condition, but she had survived the procedure. She would need time, maybe a long time, before waking. I whispered, "Thank you," barely audible. My chest ached with the weight of emotion. I didn't know whether to cry or scream. She was alive. That was enough. They allowed me to see her again. The room was dim, quiet. Machines beeped softly, the rhythm of life. I approached her slowly, afraid she might disappear if I moved too fast. She looked even more fragile now, but she was still here. I touched her hand, letting my fingers wrap around hers. "I'm here," I whispered. "I'm always here." Her chest rose and fell gently, like waves returning to shore. I leaned close, closing my eyes, breathing in the faint scent of her skin beneath the antiseptic. My tears fell onto our joined hands, warm against her cool fingers.